Hola clase, hoy vamos a hablar del verbo gustar. As you can see here, gustar does not mean to like. This is the most important thing that you can learn with gustar. Gustar actually means to be pleasing. And if you remember this little step, then you won't be confused when you see sentences like this, wondering why the verbs are conjugated the way that they are. Let's look at some examples. First off, we have me gusta la música. Okay? If it were to say, I like music, maybe you would ask yourself, why does this end with a? Why doesn't it end with o? Because you've learned that if the subject is yo, the ending should be o. For example, this verb would be gusto. Right? Well, since it does not mean to like, that means that yo, the subject pronoun, has no part at all, nothing to do with gustar. Alright? Actually, the subject is la música. Remembering that it means to be pleasing, you're saying music is pleasing to me. Okay? So notice how the sentence is written kind of in reverse. It starts off with the subject, then the verb, and then we have here what is called the indirect object pronoun. We'll talk more about that in a second. So, me gusta la música, music is pleasing to me. Okay, now notice in the second sentence, the ending of the verb gustar is an. You remember from your regular AR endings, o, as, a, amos, and then an. You remember that the ending an goes for ellos, ellas, ustedes, plural, things that are plural. Notice las guitarras, our subject is plural, everything has an S on it. So guitars are pleasing, once again, indirect object, to me. Me gustan las guitarras. I like guitars, but better said, guitars are pleasing to me. Alright, let's look at what happens when we change the indirect object to te. Okay, you can probably guess that in this case, something is pleasing to you. So, te gusta la radio, the radio is pleasing to you. In other words, you like the radio. No te gustan los MP3. You don't like MP3s, or MP3s are not pleasing to you. Notice when it's negative, when you say that you don't like something or something's not pleasing to someone, all you do is you put no before, what's that called? The indirect object pronoun. Okay, so far we've talked about the singular ending a and the plural ending an for gustar. Okay, those are the only two that we're going to use, really. And the very last one. What happens if an infinitive verb, what if an action is pleasing to someone? What if someone likes to do something? In this case, singing is what is pleasing. Okay? Well, you can't really say if this verb is singular or plural. It doesn't end with an S. It doesn't have an article, el or la, los or las. So the rule is that an infinitive verb is always going to be singular. Okay? It's just one thing. So here we say nos gusta cantar. Okay, instead of singing is pleasing to me, singing is pleasing to you, this time the indirect object tells us that we like to sing, or singing is pleasing to us. Okay, so real quick, indirect objects. What does an indirect object tell you? So, indirect objects tell you to whom an action is performed. Listen for that word to. That's the important part. To. Music is pleasing to me. Me. The radio is pleasing to you. Te. Singing is pleasing to us. Nos. We need two more. Okay? If something is pleasing to him or to her, we use le. If something is pleasing to them or to you all, being more than one person, we would have les. Okay? So two things to remember with gustar. You're only going to have two endings, a or an. It'll either be me gusta or me gustan. It will be les gusta or les gustan, depending on the subject. If the subject is singular or plural, the verb will either be singular or plural. It always matches. That's what makes it easy. And remember, indirect object pronouns tell you to whom something is pleasing. If you make it negative, all you do is you put no before the indirect object. Gracias.